Hey everyone, this is Libby from Digital Designs by Libby, and today I'm going to show you how I created this beautiful 12-inch fall decor by using a $1.25 Dollar Tree sign. I will walk you through the entire process of cleaning and prepping the sign to laminating and pressing your favorite design. Because the entire process was experimental, I'm also going to show you some pitfalls I encountered along the way and how you could avoid them. I ask that you bear with me because my videotaping skills need a lot of work. Finally, we'll add some embellishments to elevate your sign to the next level. And now, let's get to it. This is part of what I'm working on, and I'm just showing you kind of like the end product right now, and then I'm going to do a series of vignettes to show you how I got to this. But if you notice, there are all sorts of different shapes. I picked up all of these from Hobby Lobby, and what I'm going to do now is basically take this lamination stuff. If you guys haven't seen this before, you need to look into this because this is going to be a godsend. This roll, I bought actually 2 rolls. I had to buy 2 rolls, but I found a cheaper spot that I'm going to actually put in the description where you could get this lamination at a pretty reasonable cost. And this roll is humongous. That'll last you quite a long time. Anyway, on to the next section, and I'm going to actually show you what I did with these and how I prepped them and got them ready in order to be able to laminate them. Y'all, I have no idea what's going on with my camera, but I decided to do some stills. This is one of the signs that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. Go ahead and take off the ribbon that's on there, the tags, any twine that's on there, and then take yourself some sort of scraper. I got this one from the Dollar Tree, and basically our job is just to get rid of the paper by scraping it off, pulling it back, and taking it off that way. It's fairly easy to take off. And as you could see, it did a pretty good job. Notice the little white spots? You could go and take some sandpaper and then sand those down to make it nice and smooth. Now, for the process itself, I'm going to use the back of all of these signs. It's nice and clean and ready. For the most part, the paper is pretty easy to get off. Sometimes it'll give you a little bit, but it does make a mess. So once we have all the paper taken off our signs, we're going to take it outside and we're going to give it a good sanding down. That black block on the right hand side is from the Dollar Tree, and it has got a very fine grain to it. The pink one is 220, and I used both to take off to smooth it down. The other thing I did was I took a damp cloth and I wiped down everything on each of the signs, and then I took Rust-Oleum and I gave it a good coat on both sides on each of the signs that we're working on. Now, this Rust-Oleum paint I bought from Kmart, but any brand, as long as it's a paint and primer, as long as it says primer, you're good to go. What I did was I sprayed it one time, let them dry, and then sprayed them again. It's optional whether you want to spray the back of them or not. I didn't, but I did use another application further on in this video. The next thing you want to do is bring it back inside once they're completely dry, and we're going to be using this Waverly chalk paint to paint them. I used a sponge brush, and I put one coat on it, and it has pretty good coverage, so one coat should do you. If you feel you need another one, by all means, just make sure that they dry in between each coat. And as you could see, all my 6 pieces are done. I decided to do them all as a batch. That way they're all out of the way, and now we're ready for the lamination process. Take off a large section of the lamination sheet and I put it onto my cutting board. How you could tell which side to use, one side is shiny and the other one is matte. Another way of doing it is when you take it off the roll, it curls up onto itself. So you know that where it curls, that is the back side of it. So I laid it down, placed my signs to be cut, and then I proceeded to trim it, as you could see here. You try to leave at least, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch to an inch on each side, because delamination will shrink slightly during the press process. We are now ready to laminate. Start by putting down a piece of butcher block paper on your work surface to protect it. Now, I cannot stress it enough. We're going to put a layer also of the parchment paper. This will help so that the lamination, when it's heated up, becomes very sticky, and it will stick to your blowout sheet if it is not covered with parchment paper. Next, go ahead and put down your substrate with your lamination sheet on top, and we are almost ready to press. Lastly, go ahead and put another piece of blowout paper on top to protect your work surface. Now, what I did was I heated it up for 380 degrees, medium pressure for 40 seconds. Once that was done, I checked to see if the lamination adhered totally to the substrate. In this case, I needed to give it another 30 seconds under the heat press for it to be all nice and adhered. As you could see here, our substrate is now laminated and ready. Remember I talked about the parchment paper? Well, I got lazy and I didn't do that. I didn't put a layer of parchment paper down when I did one of these signs, and as you could see, it stuck pretty much to the blowout paper. We could trim this off, but it is just a mess. Use that parchment paper, folks. Y'all, this sign was a complete comedy of errors. If you notice, this is the one where the lamination stuck to the butcher paper. But more than that, what it winded up doing was, because I did not take off all the backing paper off of it, it bubbled up on me. Then when it bubbled up on me, I winded up trying to, with a pair of scissors, to cut it out, which is fine. I cut it out and then I took it back to my workstation and I sanded it and all that good stuff. But that bubbling up action winded up warping my sign, as you could see here. Not to worry, what I did to take care of this, I set it on top of, actually I set some heavy books and a paint can, I didn't take a picture of that, on top of it, and I let it sit there overnight so that it would flatten out. Finally it did, and then I was ready to start trimming these signs. And then I just took an X-Acto knife and I went around the edge, as you could see here. And also, once I had gone around the edge, I went in and I went from the front and I started trimming just any excess that was still left. I also found that with the round sign, it was easier for me to go through the front, holding the laminate as I trimmed it off, and that seemed to work very well for the round signs. Again, it's just a question of technique um, and what works best for you, but definitely an X-Acto knife. Okay, now that we have our piece laminated, we're going to put our design on it. You start off by putting a piece of paper on the bottom just to protect your surface. Put your design down. I normally do, when I do my designs, do about, I don't know, 1/4 inch bleed, so that even if your blank is a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, it should be able to fit just fine. The other thing that I do is, I don't know if you can see or not, I dog ears one of the ends so that when I put it here on the surface, it's easier to take off. So dog ear the ends like so, and then put it down. Doesn't take a lot of tape, but you do want to hold it down so it's not sliding on you. Once we have that done, and we flip it over, put another piece of butcher paper on it, or any type of paper. Parchment paper works well. And we put it in the press. We're going to put it in the press for 380 for 60 seconds. Medium pressure. I don't have medium pressure, that's kind of high. And it's ready to take off. Come through, take a sneak peek. Oh, that's pretty. See how it's wet? Because this is MDF. And your paper does get wet a little bit. This is where the dog ears come in really handy. This is the back. As I had mentioned in the other video, I didn't take all the paper off of it. I should have. And there we go. It's all finished. Okay, let's take it back to the workroom and we'll keep talking. Okay, so this is how it came out after the laminate and also pressing it on the heat press for 380 degrees for 60 seconds. And I think it came out amazing. It is a bit warped, and if you followed me when I in the video about the lamination, how to do these for lamination, I did talk about how on the back I got lazy and I didn't take all the paper off, and what it did was it bubbled, and when it bubbled it kind of warped it. But again, because this was a tester, that was a lesson learned. So if you're going to be doing these from the Dollar Tree, make sure that whatever paper backing it has, take it completely off and you won't have that problem. Such as with this one. And it came out really nice. It came out flat. And so yeah. So moving right along, this looks awful like that. So what I'm going to do, just to make it a little bit prettier, I am going to use some craft paper and I'm going to put on a generous amount of glue all around. Make sure you get all the edges. like so. And I'm not going to bore you with this detail, so I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we have our backing, I'm actually going to start putting a trim rope around the edges just to shoosh it up a little bit, as they say. I got this rope from the Dollar Tree. Here's a sticker in case you need to buy it. And then all we do is basically take our glue gun, work one section at a time. Glue like that. Hold it for a second or two. Ow. And do the next section. And you kind of work yourself around the edge, like so. Now I'm going to sit here and have you watch me do this, so I'm going to stop the video and then stop it. Of also taping this down is to take and put the glue on the rope, like so. And then adhere it to your board. So any glue, just make sure you put it down. This is a silicone, I don't know what this is. It's some sort of makeup applicator, but it's made out of silicone and nothing sticks to it. It also saves your fingers from getting burnt. So I used this, and I just kept going then around the bend. Like so. Put it on the back side, and it won't show on the front. Now that we're down at the end, as you see here, we are actually going to cut the rest of our nautical rope at an angle, just like this one. I don't know if you could see it that well right here. It's cut at an angle. We're going to do the same thing with the other side so that there isn't that much bulk on there. One more little piece. Sell these little pink things at the Dollar Tree. They're called finger savers, and for good reason. But see, all done. Okay. Once that's done, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a haircut. There's all sorts of little pieces, especially with this nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And we just go around the corners like that. You could also use a lighter to singe the edges. Actually, I might do that. And you could do this as much or as little as you want. Kind of like the burnt look. Don't get it too close to your lamination, just on the edges, so you're happy. So if you notice what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of playing around with the rope and seeing where I want it, how long I want it, because this is what I'm going to be using to hang it from my door, and this is going to go on my door. So there and there, that's pretty good, I think. Then I'm going to just go ahead and cut it at an angle again. glue down one side first. Like so. Where's my finger thingy? I don't know if you can see that. Check it on the back. That looks pretty good. So, onward is a bow, and then we're more or less finished with this project. I may go ahead and again use my handy dandy little burner to singe off the edges, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I started looking at this and I didn't like this edging too much here. Maybe if I had put the nautical tape, rope a little bit further up this way, but I didn't. So seeing like a white edge here where it's just showing too much of the edge, and I'm not too thrilled about that. So what I did was I took this twine, which is obviously much thinner than the rope, and I got this at Walmart for like $3 and some odd change. And what I'm going to do is basically just start it and kind of cover up that area like this using my glue gun again. Do one section of your at a time and just tack it down. Like so. That's starting to look a lot better too. Now I'm going to stop the video again, finish this up, and I'll be right back. The last thing we're going to do with this project is to add a simple bow. I started off by measuring a length of ribbon and putting it in a crisscross motion, as you see here. I bought the ribbon from Joann Fabrics. They were running a 60% off all their fall decor items, so it was actually a great buy. I bought this one, and I bought the pattern one that you'll see in just a minute. So I did the same thing with the pattern ribbon. I just crisscrossed it, then I laid one on top of another as shown here. This will be the beginnings of our bow, if you will. And then I cinched it up and used a little clip. I got these clips from the Dollar Tree and they are fantastic. Next we're going to take a piece of twine and we're going to use the twine to wrap it around both pieces of ribbon so that we could permanently attach them. And then we just wrap the twine around. How many times you wrap the twine around is a personal preference. I basically just did it 2 or 3 times as shown here. This is the back. Once you have it set, you cut it and then you hot glue the rest of the trim to the back, and here's the front. Next step, once our ribbon is exactly the way you like it, will be to fluff it up and to trim the edges so that they are nice and neat as shown here. If you trim it at a diagonal, it'll give you a nice little ending. And that's it. This is our project completed, and I think it turned out fantastic. The design is available at my shop at Digital Designs by Libby. I'll be leaving the link in the comments. I hope you liked this project. It was a learning curve for everyone, including myself. And I look forward to many more projects like this. Let me know what you think. Bye.